So, for the agenda today, we're going to talk about introductions to biofertilizers, what kind of um, biofertilizers are, what are the certain modes of action that helps to increase the yield, the fruit quality, and brick levels. This is all very important as the world is changing, and consumers are demanding more sustainable products. They want to know where their food is grown. They want to know what sort of chemicals or what sort of inputs that are being used. And biofertilizers have been implemented slowly, but surely been implemented. One of our growers is on the line here, has been using biofertilizers, for the last 20, 30 decades. And, he's, used a number of different products. So hopefully this webinar can give you an idea about how using biofertilizers can help you increase your yield, your quality, and your brick levels. I just want to mention that this is not a sales pitch. The purpose of these webinars that we host every month is to share knowledge with our growers. So I would like to introduce you to Dr. Ankita and turn this presentation over to her. We do have a question and answer period after this. So if you like, you can raise your hand, ask the question, and then she can answer it during the presentation, or she can also answer it afterwards. And I'll leave it up to Dr. Ankita to make that decision.
Okay, thank you so much, Lee. Now let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Ankita. I did my PhD in plant pathology from India and worked as a scientific officer in Department of Agriculture. I have over 9 years of experience in agriculture research and extension, and have experience of both laboratory as well as field work. My area of work is focused on biofertilizers, organic fertilizer, biocontrol agents, and isolation, identification, purification, and culturing of different microorganisms. I have conducted number of training programs to create awareness about organic farming, principle and practices of crop protection, crop production, and to industry people, agriculture officials, farmers, and growers. So today I am here uh, to talk about the topic maximizing crop potential with biofertilizers to increase yield and Brix level. And you are welcome to ask any questions at the end of the presentation. So moving ahead. Starting with the sustainable agriculture, as we all know that the population all over the world is increasing day by day, and to meet the needs of this growing population, we have to increase more and more food. To increase the food and crop production, people are relying on fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, but we all know that there are certain like different kind of adverse effect on our health in the ecosystem, as well as in the soil. There are number of adverse effect, and whatever chemicals or fertilizer we apply on the soil, estimated 90% of those fertilizer never reach to the roots and they contaminate groundwater. So if we want to go for sustainable agriculture, it is a great alternative to boost our crop production, to protect our crop, to save our soil and ecosystem. So there are the number of sustainable components of sustainable agriculture, as we can go towards organic farming. We can maintain our soil health by use of different type of biological control agents. Crop rotation we can do. There are different practices as crop rotation, mixed cropping, integrated pest management, and so on. So out of those all, there are a number of things we can do, and biofertilizers is one of the important component of sustainable agriculture. And by using these biofertilizers, we can increase our crop yield. We can have good quality quantity of our produce, and we can increase the Brix level, as well as this presentation is focused on emphasizing on this crop yield, fruit quality, and increased Brix level. As we are going ahead in the next slides, I will discuss in detail about all those points. So starting with the biofertilizers, let's see the definition of biofertilizers. Biofertilizers are the substance which contain microorganisms, which we can use as a foliar spray, as seed treatment, as soil treatment, and these colonizes the rhizosphere and increase the nutrient content as and promote the plant health. So these biofertilizers are there different type of biofertilizers. When we introduce it in the plant or in the soil, they increase the soil aggregation and ultimately they increase the soil porosity, help in the water retention, increase the nutrient content of the soil, help the plant to grow its root development, help in the shoot development, and help the plant to grow uh, in a healthy plant and will ultimately give us high yield. So now let's talk about the functions of biofertilizers in the soil. So biofertilizers have number of positive impact on soil and as well as plants. For example, they enhance of crop production. So how they enhance the crop production? Because when we use biofertilizers in the soil or in the plant, they increase the nutrient concentration of nutrient concentration which is required for the growth and development of plant. So by getting those nutrients, plants are able to grow healthy, they have strong roots, and ultimately it will result into higher yield, uh, which is our goal, right? We want to if whatever crop we are growing in our field, we want to grow the crop healthy, we want more yield, and we want healthy plants and health and good yield. So biofertilizers are able to fulfill that requirement. The next point is improvement of soil microbial population. As biofertilizer are different type of biofertilizer as nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, phosphorus solubilizing biofertilizers. Because of use of these biofertilizers, they are able to increase the microbial population. So number of microbes will present in the soil, and they will do the activity. They will release the enzymes and make it available for plant and ultimately help the plant grow well. These microorganisms uh, have the effect to suppress the activity of certain pathogens which are harmful for plants. There are number of pathogens which are harmful for plants which affect the productivity and final yield of crop. So biofertilizer, for example, trichoderma have the ability to control different type of soil-borne plant pathogens, and it can help in protecting plant from different type of diseases. The next is enhancing the symbiotic relationship. There are certain biofertilizers which make a symbiotic association with plant root, which help to provide nutrients. By making the symbiotic relationship, they make those nutrients available for plant. For example, nitrogen fixing bacteria as rhizobium is a very good example of symbiotic relationship with plants. So these uh, biofertilizer make a symbiotic relationship with symbiotic relation with the plant root, especially with leguminous crops. They make the symbiotic relation, and they are able to fix the nitrogen and make it available for plant, and which is helpful in the growth and development of plant. So by presence of these microbes, it is helpful in improving the soil health, which is very important. Because of the use of different type of chemicals and all, we are deteriorating our soil health, and which is the main base of agriculture. Whether we are doing organic or sustainable or conventional farming, whatever type of farming we are doing, the most important thing is soil health. So by using these biofertilizers, we are maintaining our soil health. So this is very important, and nutrient supply as well, because of the use of these biofertilizer as nitrogen fixing, phosphorus solubilizing, potash solubilizing. They have the ability to make the unavailable nutrients which are present in the soil, but plants are not able to absorb them. So these biofertilizer have the ability to make sure that those unavailable nutrients by different mode of action, which I'm going to explain in the later slide, how what is the mode of action of biofertilizers. So by this mode of action, these biofertilizers are able to make sure that these unavailable nutrients are available for plant, and by utilizing those nutrients, plant it will helpful in the growth of plant, and ultimately we will get good yield. So these are the functions of biofertilizers. Now, why to choose biofertilizers? Since we talk about the functions of biofertilizers, so some of the points are common with this also. So first thing is cost effective. So this is like, since people many people are very comfortable in using synthetic fertilizers because they are using it from so long, they might be cheaper initially, but every time whenever you are growing your crop, you have to apply these fertilizers. But biofertilizer, even if we are going to buy biofertilizer, sometimes you can feel like they are a little higher in cost or anything like that. But by using these biofertilizers, what we are doing is we are not only increasing the nutrient input in the soil, but we are also making our soil enrich in nutrients, so that these nutrients are able to grow the crop right now, as well as these microbial microbes are able to they will be present in the soil and making it nutrient rich even after the harvest, or making the soil nutrient rich for later also, because that's why it is a sustainable way. So by using these biofertilizers and these organic or sustainable ways, what we can do is we can in the starting, if the soil is not that much nutrient rich or not that much fertile, by using those biofertilizers, we need to the need of frequent use of these biofertilizer will be less, like because the soil will be already nutrient rich by use of those biofertilizer. So gradually we can reduce the dose of these biofertilizers. So this point is also by chemical, there is differentiation between chemical fertilizer and biofertilizer can be can be used because of, if we are using it again and again, so if we are increasing the nutrient content of the soil as well. The next is enhance soil health. So by using these biofertilizers, they are able to uh, they are leading to better water retention, and they help in enhancing soil fertility by fixing nitrogen, by making phosphorus available for plant, and by decomposing organic matter. And make by the decomposition of organic matter, they are making the soil enriched in nutrients and enhancing the soil health. So biofertilizers are sustainable and biodegradable. And since chemical fertilizer, there are number of um, like negative impact on the soil, on the health and ecosystem, but it's not like that with the biofertilizers. The next one is improved plant growth. Since we are in the soil, there are number of microbes which are providing nutrients to the plants. So ultimately, the growth will be there. And so these factors are like focusing on the sustainable agriculture. If we are using biofertilizer and other ways of organic farming, we are going towards sustainable agriculture, and we are making our soil healthy. We are making our, which is ultimately helping to grow a healthy plant. So now I will talk about types of biofertilizers. So this is a generalized flowchart of biofertilizers. Biofertilizers are divided into three parts. First one is nitrogen biofertilizers. Second is phosphorus biofertilizer, and third is uh, potassium biofertilizers. So nitrogen biofertilizers are of two types, symbiotic and non-symbiotic. Symbiotic biofertilizer are those nitrogen fixing biofertilizers which make symbiotic association with plant root. For example, rhizobium, azolla, in which rhizobium make a symbiotic relation with leguminous plants. The second is non-symbiotic nitrogen biofertilizers, which are free living microorganisms present in the soil. For example, azotobacter. The second is phosphorus biofertilizer. They are again divided into two categories: phosphorus solubilizer and phosphorus mobilizer. Phosphorus there are examples which are mentioned in the screen, and phosphorus mobilizer, which is VAM, is a good example of phosphorus mobilizer. So these phosphorus biofertilizers uh, are able to decompose the make the phosphorus which is present in the soil but is unavailable for plants, and they make sure that by releasing certain acids they decompose it in certain forms which plant is able to utilize. So this is the benefit of these biofertilizers. The third one is potassium biofertilizers, and its examples are these: Bacillus mesonodosus and Phacelia aurantia. Now the methods of application. So biofertilizers, there are three main method of application. First is foliar application. We can use it at soil amendment, and as well as we can use it as seed treatment. Now the important part is mechanism of action. So there are two different mechanisms. Biofertilizer uh, can mechanism of biofertilizer can be direct method and indirect method. So direct method, there is biological nitrogen fixation, in which the nitrogen which is available in atmosphere but plants are not able to utilize that nitrogen. As we know, in our atmosphere around 78% of nitrogen is there, but it is not, but plants are not able to absorb it directly. So there is a need of fixing that atmospheric nitrogen into some form by which the plants can absorb it. So these biofertilizers can help the plant to absorb this nitrogen. Second is plant hormone production. There are certain microorganisms which produce plant hormone, which accelerate the growth of plant. For example, auxin and zebralin, indole acetic acid. These are some plant hormones which are responsible for shoot elongation, root elongation, and cell division. So by this method, they act as a plant growth plant growth hormone. The next one is nutrient solubilizer. So phosphorus solubilizing bacteria are under this. Next one is siderophore production. So these are the um, iron. These are the protein siderophores are produced by some microorganisms which make whenever there is scarcity of iron, they make it available for plants. The next is indirect method. There are certain methods as HCN and ammonia production. So certain microbes produce this HCN and ammonia. So ammonia is helpful in plant growth and development, while HCN is helpful in inhibition of certain harmful pathogen, which can be harmful for plants. So HCN is helpful in inhibiting their growth. Next is antibiotic production. So certain microbes produce antibiotic, which again help in the inhibition of certain harmful pathogen which can infect the plants. So it's kind of protecting shield to the plants. So next is biocontrol activity. For example, trichoderma, which is helpful in controlling different soil-borne pathogens. This comes under indirect method. So, and last one is induced systemic resistance. So some plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, some microorganisms have the ability to induce the systemic resistance in plant, which ultimately helpful in uh, fighting with any these type of harmful pathogens, as well as they helpful in plant to grow well. So these are the types of action, like how they can like biofertilizer can what can be the mechanism of biofertilizer, either direct or indirect. So this is the mode of action, how the biofertilizer act on plant, or how the fertilizer act on the soil, and how they are beneficial to us. So different biofertilizers as bacteria, fungi, algae, and symbiotic biofertilizers, when we introduce it in the plant or in the soil, uh, how they are helpful. Like they can make the symbiotic relationship with the plant root. They can be present free living. So they are different of modes, like plant growth promoting factors, like you can see nitrogen fixer, potassium. and phosphorus and micronutrient solubilizers. So these biofertilizers, how they act is they can fix the nitrogen and make it available for plant. They can solubilize the phosphorus and make it available for plant, and they can solubilize the potash and make it available for plant, as well as they are helpful in maintaining the soil health, making the soil nutrient rich, and second, improving the soil health by uh, what they can do is they can increase the soil aggregation, and which ultimately help in soil porosity, which is helpful to maintain the water retention of soil. So biofertilizers are not only providing nutrients to the soil, but also helping in the water retention of soil. So it is helpful in both ways. Now, coming towards the impact of impact of biofertilizers on crop yield. So how they are helpful in increasing the crop yield? What is the mechanism behind this biofertilizer that they are able to increase our crop yield? So here we can see there is a plant. Uh, so our soil have some like different type of phosphorus or potash which is not available for plant. So here we can see that these these biofertilizers, certain biofertilizers, they what they do is, for example, phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, they produce some organic acids by their activity, and what they do is they produce these acids and make these unavailable form of phosphorus to available, and these what they do is they release the soluble phosphorus in soil, by which plants are able to absorb this phosphorus, and which the plant growth promotion uh, by the absorption of this available phosphorus. So it is directly helping the plant to grow well. So the plant is able to grow well. These are increasing the nutrients in the soil, enhancing soil fertility, which is helpful in root development and plant and shoot development, and ultimately we will get the better yield. So this is an example of a study conducted by Datta and et al. In 2018. So what they have seen is there is increase in yield of garlic by the use of biofertilizers. So what they have done is they use different treatments in which there is first treatment they use regular dose of regular dose of fertilizers, and in the other treatment they have used regular dose of fertilizer with some biofertilizers and plant growth promoting bacteria. And what they have found is when they use the regular dose of fertilizer with plant growth promoting bacteria, phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, potash solubilizing bacteria, and BAM, uh, so they use different treatments. So what they found is when they use regular dose of fertilizer with these biofertilizer, they got the higher yield in comparison to just using the regular dose. So if we are using biofertilizers, or if any farmer is just using chemical fertilizer and they don't want to just stop using those chemical fertilizer, and they don't want to just rely on biofertilizer, so what they can do is, okay, you can continue using your synthetic fertilizers, but you can what you can do is you can increase you can add some biofertilizer with it, so it will increase your uh, crop yield. And ultimately what it will be helpful is biofertilizer, once they entered in your soil, so they will make the soil enrich in nutrients, and which will helpful in the plant growth, as well as it will make the soil healthy, which will be useful for next time also. So by this way we can increase our soil nutrient level. So here also in the same treatment, what they found is when they applied no fertilizer, their bulb weight is uh, low, and in treatment where they use biofertilizer, its weight is more, and similarly the root length is also higher in when they used biofertilizers. So this is just a research done in past. So similar trial we have conducted with our with natural growth biofertilizer with our customers. So what they have found is there are two different varieties of grape, Market and Lacardi Blanc, and we have seen that 70%, 17% increase in yield in this variety and 53% yield in the other variety. So this have done by the use of natural growth biofertilizers, and similar results we have seen in Brix level also. So Brix level I'm going to talk in next slides. So next one is the impact on fruit quality. So how biofertilizer will affect the fruit quality. So here we can see that these biofertilizers are able to fix atmospheric nitrogen. They are able to solubilize phosphorus. They are able to mobilize potassium. So making the soil rich in nutrients. And by making this soil rich in nutrients, it is helpful in growing the root. Sorry, growing the root. And by intake of these nutrients, plants are getting more nitrogen, more phosphorus and potassium, and by which the plant are growing well, and ultimately the fruit quality is increased. So biofertilizer, what how they work is these microbes make the soil rich in nutrients and provide the nutrients whenever these are required by the plants. So for example, if in the initial stage of planting the crop, when plants are growing, when the leaves are coming out and when the vegetative part is growing, plants need more nitrogen. So these microbes make sure that make that nitrogen available for plant. In the later stage, when the fruits are growing, that time it needs more phosphorus and potassium. So because of the presence of those microorganisms in the soil, they make it available for plants so that uh, they can get more nutrients for the development of fruits. So ultimately, when the soil is rich in nutrients, the plants are able to intake those nutrients uh, for their better growth and better fruit development, and ultimately the increased yield. So this is an example of this is a study done in grapes where they have checked the bunch and berry effect of biofertilizer on bunch and berry in grapes. So here also they use different treatments in which they use the recommended dose of fertilizers, and they use different type of biofertilizers. So what they have found is by using the recommended dose of fertilizer with azotobacter uh, and other microbes and PSB and potash solubilizing bacteria, they have found that when they use the increased dose of biofertilizer with the recommended dose of fertilizer, they got the highest yield, and the bunch length was more, the berry size was more, the width of berry was more. So it is the similar studies as earlier that by the use of biofertilizer with the recommended dose of fertilizer, it is able to increase the yield, number of berries, bunch size, and total weight of that of grapes in this study. So similar results we got in apple when we use natural growth in the field trial. So in which we what they've used is untreated, like the control one and the nurture growth biofertilizer, they get the 12% higher yield, and the size of fruit you can see in the untreated or control trial, there were 77 apples per box, which are more, but in the nurture growth, since the size of the fruit is bigger, so number per box there are 72 apples. So you can see the quality, like in the fruits we can clearly see that the apples are bigger in size, and the total yield is more in nurture growth treated plots. Now we can talk about impact on Brix level. So how the biofertilizers are able to increase the Brix level uh, of our crop, any fruit. So what is the mechanism behind increasing the Brix level? So this we all know that how plants make their food. We know that by the process of photosynthesis, plants are able to make their own food. Plants use sunlight and carbon dioxide and water. Uh, with the help of these three, plants take these things like absorb carbon dioxide, absorb water, and sunlight, and they are able to produce. They are able to produce glucose, and they are ultimately help these. This photosynthesis is the process by which plant make their own food, and it will help in the growth and development of plant. In the process, plant absorb carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. uh, so if they are making the food, means mm, like it is the form of carbohydrate or glucose. So how it is helpful in increasing the Brix levels, since uh, these biofertilizers provide nutrients in the soil. So by using those nutrients, plants are using those nutrients. Their intake level, plants are able to intake those nutrients. Which is helpful in the growth of plant. Their vegetative plant is growth. So like area expansion is there. So plants are, it is like directly related to the photosynthesis. Since plants leaves are growing, there is more space for plants to take the sunlight, and the process of photosynthesis increases. Second thing is, by the presence of these microorganisms in the soil, they are helpful in the water retention in the soil. So if there is less water, the leaves stomata, what they do is, they are closed, because they don't want to release more water. If there is a scarcity of water, the stomata of the leaf will close, and it won't let the water go out to save the water, to save the plant. So if the stomata of the leaf is closed, plants will not be able to absorb carbon dioxide, which will impact the photosynthesis process of plant. And since the if the process of photosynthesis will slow down, there will be less food for the plants, and there will be less um, uh, glucose or Brix levels. So by the use of this biofertilizer, they are helping the plants uh, to grow, because of the presence of these microorganisms, plus water retention of the plants, which, if the water retention is there, it is helping the plant for photosynthesis. Plants are growing, growth and development of plants will be good. So they will be able to produce more carbohydrate, and ultimately the fruit Brix level will be increased. So this is the mode of action, how the Brix level increase by the presence of these microorganisms, by the process of photosynthesis, and enhancing the nutrient availability of these microbes. The other one is increased microbial activity in the soil, since we can see, like, um, microbes are present in the soil, and they are helpful in degrading the uh, like residue. Their microbial residue is there, which is helpful in increasing the organic carbon in soil, and releasing the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So this way, they are the increased activity in the soil, and these are stimulating the plant growth and helpful in the growth and development of plant. So this increase in Brix level in there are example or number of examples for which we have seen the results in increase in Brix levels. For example, tomatoes, strawberries, grapes, garlic, and other citrus fruits. There are known examples of increased Brix level with the help of biofertilizers. This is a study done in 2022, in which what they have done is, they checked they use different treatments, and they check the biofertilizer improved Brix level in grapes. So the first one is just the recommended dose of biofertilizers, and the other use other are recommended dose of biofertilizers with different type, recommended dose of fertilizer with other type of biofertilizer. So what they have found is, when they use the recommended dose of fertilizers with the higher dose of biofertilizers, they have found the increase in Brix level in grapes. So this is just the example of this. This is other example of apples, in which increased Brix level in apples. What they have done is, This is the recommended dose of fertilizer. These are nitrogen fertilizers. So when they use the nitrogen fertilizer with plant growth promoting bacteria, they have found that the Brix level of the apples was highest in when they used it with these microbes. So it is 13%, which is maximum among all. So these are some examples of crops showing the higher Brix level. Now, what are the limitations of these biofertilizers? Uh, since there are number of benefits, as we all discussed earlier in the earlier slides, there are some limitations as well with the biofertilizers. So first one is environment sensitivity. So biofertilizer, there are number of products in the market which are available. So and it's not with a certain product, but it is different in all the products. Like they how they work is they some biofertilizers they want a certain temperature for their activity. In very low temperature, the activity of microbes slow down. In very high temperature, they don't work well. So there is environment sensitivity also with the biofertilizer with some products, not all. For example, in nurture growth biofertilizer, it is effective even in low temperature as well as in high temperature. The second one is storage and shelf life. So biofertilizers, uh, some biofertilizer have the issue of storage and shelf life because you need to keep them in dark place in low temperature, and the shelf life is also very among different products. It's like there's a number of products in the market, so there is some in some products there is just 6 months or even some 1 month. So there are different type, but in nurture growth, I can say like there is no such special storage facility we need to store it, and its shelf life is also more than 2 years. The other limitation is results may vary. So if we are using those biofertilizer in the soil which is really very nutrient deficit, and because of the use of chemicals and all, so it may take time to and if we are using just biofertilizer, it will take time to for the biofertilizer to go inside and to show their effect. So so in the initial stage or in the first trial it may vary. So if the soil quality is really very low, we recommend like using biofertilizer can be promoted by the use of with the use of other like fertilizers or organic amendments. It is better to use like that. The other is slow release of nutrients. Since if you use chemical fertilizer, there is instant effect of it, but biofertilizer there is slow release of nutrients because those microbes need some time to uh, to uh, to to show their effectivity to grow well in the soil and show their effectivity in the plant. So they are a little slow release of nutrients is there. The other limitation is lack of awareness and adoption. So people who are already using synthetic fertilizer, they are very comfortable for using those chemicals. So there is a need to create awareness among people. So and tell them the benefit of biofertilizer and other positive impact of sustainable agriculture. The next also, since different products are available in the market, and quality control is the major factor in which since the companies are claiming for the number of microbial content, and we are not sure, people are not aware of the technical things about these. So what product is good for their which crop. So this is also a major point of this limitations. And other limitation is infrastructure constraint, as some farmers they don't have the um, appropriate equipment as a sprayer. Not all, but small farmers, some don't have access for these equipment like sprayer which is required for the biofertilizer application. And number of products on the market is there, so people are confused which product they should use, and so they are really confused like what is better for their crop. So this is also a big limitation. They don't know what to use, how to use, and the cost is also important, since biofertilizer are effective, but cost is also a thing. But if we are using if we start using biofertilizer, we start using organic techniques in our field, so it will enhance the microbial content of our field. Uh, there will be less need of using, like, application rate will be reduced, so it won't be a limitation in that way. Uh, Now, towards the conclusion, since sustainable agriculture, if we want to go towards, like, we want to keep our soil healthy, we want to keep our plants healthy, we want to eat healthy, so we should go towards sustainable agriculture, and biofertilizers are a very good alternative, or a very good step towards sustainable agriculture, to since they have the ability to increase the soil nutrients. They are making the soil enrich in nutrients, making the helping the plant to uptake of those nutrients. They are helpful in increasing the yield, helpful in uh, giving the good fruit quality, Brix level, and helping the plant to grow healthy. So by the use of these biofertilizer, we are able to make our soil rich in nutrients, making the soil healthy, and ultimately we will get the healthy plant and good yield. This way. So this is all about this presentation. Thank you so much, all. Now you all are welcome to ask any questions if you have.
Thank you, Dr. Ankita. Perhaps I can lead off with some questions, and this is a question that I often get from the growers, is that when you use a biofertilizer, when can a farmer decrease the chemical fertilizer? Can they decrease it in the first year, or should they use whatever program and then add the biofertilizer on top? What is your recommendation?
So if it depends upon different things, as if if the soil, what is the soil quality, first of all, like how much nutrient deficit is the soil, and if they are using chemical fertilizer for so long in the soil, so definitely the actual nutrients might be less in the soil. So in the first year, what they can do is they can start using biofertilizers with whatever recommended dose of fertilizer they are using. So in the first year they can introduce biofertilizer, but I will not say that they should stop whatever they are using, because if they use just biofertilizer in that field in the first year, the crop might be reduced. This is the thing which we tell if we are encouraging farmers to go towards organic farming. So in the initial stage, if they go for organic, the first year yield will be little less. The second year it will be a little big higher in the higher, and in the third year they will be able to completely like overcome the effect of like insufficient nutrient deficit soil. So what they can do is they can slowly introduce biofertilizer in the first year, second year, and third year. It's not like if your soil is completely nutrient deficit, just applying biofertilizer will totally increase the yield. It's not like that.
Thank you. I think Pat had a question. It just popped up that he wanted to ask a question.
Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you now.
Oh, great. That's good. Okay, yeah. Actually, I have three questions.
Mhm.
First is, can you explain the mode of action or difference between phosphorus solubilizers and phosphorus mobilizers? The second question is, you didn't talk about micronutrient mobilizers like manganese or copper or zinc or boron. And the third question is, are there with, I believe there's at least 20 different microbes in your product. Um, are there any spray tank incompatibilities that we have to be worried about, uh, uh, whether we're a conventional farmer or an organic farmer? Are there any products like, say, copper or products or other competing microbes, right, that are now being used in agriculture? So those are my questions.
Okay.
Perhaps I can take a stab at number three, because we did do a tank compatibility testing with a number of pesticides. Excuse me. We know that with the chemical fertilizers, there's 100% compatibility because it is not going to harm our microbes. When it's used with other microbes, we haven't seen any degradation in terms of the population um, levels, right? So it is safe to use with any chemical fertilizers and nutrients. And we do need to do more testing to see what if there's any competing microbial activity. However, with our product, it is in a dormant format. So it's in a spore format, and it only gets duplicated when it's mixed with water. And when it's added to the leaf, that is when the action is happening, right? So it's not like it's going to compete against each other in the tank mix. So I can provide when we send out the video recording and also this PowerPoint presentation is I'll send out a tank compatibility list of pesticides that we've tested with. So far, all the pesticides that we have tested with have been compatible. In the past, we thought that it was not compatible with um, sulfur. However, in recent tests that we've done, it was able to show that it can mix with sulfur, copper, is not a problem because it's natural. Now I will, does that answer your question, Pat, for at least the third one?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
that's good. Yep.
okay, perfect. And then now I'm gonna pass it over to Dr. Ankita for number one and number two. It's more scientific.
Okay, so the first question was the difference between phosphorus solubilizer and phosphorus mobilizer. So there are different examples for phosphorus solubilizer and mobilizer. Phosphorus solubilizers, what they do is they solubilize the phosphorus which is present in soil. So by release of certain acids as oxalic acids, citric acid, which are helpful to degrade to break down those unavailable form of phosphorus and make it available for plant. And phosphorus mobilizers, what they do is they help to mobilize this already solid the phosphorus which is soluble and make it available. Since solubilizer make it available for plants, so mobilizer, for example, VAM is a good example of phosphorus mobilizer. Vascular asvascular mycorrhiza, I think you might be aware of that. So they help this dissolved phosphorus and make it available, like help to move this phosphorus and make it available for plant, for helping to mobile these soluble phosphorus to the plant. And regarding the micronutrients, since this in the presentation, I mainly focused on the macronutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. Uh, there are other micronutrients also, since because of this activity of these microbes. Yes, since I focused only on the macronutrients, but there are a number of micronutrients also. So because of the activity of these microorganisms, these micronutrients are also available for plants, so that they make the soil enrich in micronutrients as well, so the plant can intake the both micronutrients as well as macronutrients. For example, I mentioned siderophores also, uh, which are helpful to intake the iron whenever the soil has less iron. So these are the protein molecules produced by certain microbes, and make these micronutrients also available for plants. So these biofertilizers have the effect of making all the macronutrients as well as micronutrients available for plants.
Unknown caller. And Sorry. We also with our microbes, we do have the ability to solubilize some of the micronutrients. So it's I'll have to provide you the list, but I think it's magnesium, calcium, iron, and I think something else. But I can definitely get you, that list that um our microbes are able to help to solubilize some of those micronutrients.
Okay, can I ask a follow-up question then?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
please.
Yes. So basically, if we know that for a conventional farmer, adding different minerals, uh, a portion of these get tied up in the soil. And take, for example, like iron phosphate. Using a program of using biofertilizers, do you ever accomplish full release of tied up compounds in the soil that have been, that have been tied up for years, like I say, like iron phosphate or things like that, and then have to rely again on I guess you could rely by doing soil tests, a mineral test, and seeing what your available levels are, but then having to come back and refertilize with conventional fertilizers after a period of time.
So, using these synthetic fertilizers, whenever we apply it in the soil, uh, of course, they instantly help the plant to grow. But you know, um, how much synthetic fertilizer we are adding in the soil, it is not completely used by plants are not able to use all those synthetic fertilizers. Most of them are like with the irrigation water, they are going to like deep in the soil, or with the irrigation water it is there. But the thing with the biofertilizer is, if you are using those biofertilizers, so they are making the association with each other, with the soil, with the roots. For example, in symbiotic biofertilizer, right? So they have the ability to make the symbiotic relation with roots. So they are present there. They are always there. So whenever there is requirement of the nutrients, they are already there to make it available for plants. So this is the difference between these biofertilizer and the additional things which we are adding. And to get the accurate like exact like data, like whatever is present in the soil, of course the soil testing is all is there, so by which only we can check like how much concentration of what is available in the soil. Am I getting your question correctly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question here from Jan. Jan, do you want to speak, or do you want to ask the question, or do you want me to read your question? Okay.
So I can speak. The question I have is when dealing with legume crops such as red clover or soybean, when adding into the first year for your application, what would be the recommended rate per acre of adding the biofertilizer in when you're going out to apply this?
uh, in in leguminous crops, actually the uh, need of biofertilizer is actually very less. So
Yes.
since they have the root nodules which is able to fix the uh, nitrogen, right? So we already don't need much biofertilizer for that, since they are already able to fix the they already have the symbiotic relation with the biofertilizer, so we don't need much biofertilizer for that. But the exact dose I have to come back to you, because at this moment I don't have any exact uh, dose for that.
Okay.
Maybe I will.
Jen, I can also answer that. We've been trialing our product mostly with specialty crops. And we have found that in terms of the economics of our product and a lot of biofertilizers, with the cash crops, and the leguminous crops, um, the profit margin is very tight, right? So the
Correct.
farmers don't have a lot of room to use and experiment different products. I know that, for example, there was a product called Pivot Bio that is specifically on corn, and they were selling it for $60 an acre for the season, but there was mixed results in it. So, you know, what I can say is that not all biofertilizers are the same, and you really need to do your research and understand what microbes are involved, what are the different modes of action, and what's the trials. And more importantly, what are the farmers saying about it? I think that is important that, there's research studies, but there are also limitation when it comes to academic research. As I'm doing my doctorate degree as well, and understanding this, is that in a setting of research at an academic institution, they are focusing on the academic perspective as opposed to the commercialization. What is it that the farmer really needs, or what is it that the farmers are looking for? So we rely very heavily on our trials with our farmers because that is really the real world setting. We don't have a controlled environment where we're controlling, the sun, the temperature, et cetera, and et cetera, right? Things like that don't work. Farming doesn't work that way. Some of our competitors, they've got great results in the lab, but the problem is that when you're growing, you have different things like rain. Like if it rains, farmers can't necessarily go into the field and spray their crops, right? Or you might have drought. It might be so busy that they can't spray their schedule. So there's a lot more variables which are like real life, real nice scenarios, right? So I think that for us, relying on our feedback from our farmers is a lot more helpful, right? And that's why we stuck mainly on, specialty crops. Like, I'm working, with you possibly, on garlic, right? I see, one of the on ginseng. Um, so different crops that we have found to be very effective, and then we're really focusing on those crops to help the farmers not only increase their yield, but also increase their profit margin, right? Because at the end of the day, farming is a business, right? So it's all about the return on investment. Does it make sense the farmers to use the product, right? And in a lot of our case studies we've done is that they've definitely seen ROI investment, and that's why they continue to use it. Does that answer your question, John?
A little bit. Like we're moving more towards no-till and into edible beans, where edible beans the profit margins are greater than that of soybean, and they are still a legume. So that's why I'm looking more towards the edibles, the black beans, the kidney beans, those kinds of beans compared to a soybean. So that's what I'm more looking at is, or yes, I know legumes are nitrogen fixers. However, when you add slight amounts of nutrient, even at low levels, the improvement in legume crops that we've noticed in the last few years, being soybean and black bean, I'm kind of looking for a rate more for black bean than anything else. And the other thing is with red clover, it being a legume, any way that you can increase dry matter also increase your tons per acre, which helps us hay farmers to help produce more tons per acre, which leads to higher yields, higher protein, and better sellable product coming into the sales season.
Yeah. So perhaps we can schedule a time with Dr. Nikita, yourself, and myself to talk more in depth about that, because we haven't done any trials on red clover per se, but we've done some informal trials with some horse farmers in Ontario with hay, and they definitely saw a difference using our product. But what is the economics, of it is the other thing. So I'll reach out to you after this, and then
Yep.
and definitely have a more in-depth conversation about it.
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. And Caesar has a question. I know that we're running very close to time. Actually, we're at time. So I wanted to thank everyone for participating, and we will carry on with the question and answer period. But this can actually concludes, the presentation. I hope that there's something that you've learned from it, but we'll continue with the question and answers. I think that it's important, because there's a lot of learning that comes out of this as well. So Caesar has a question is, what's the schedule to change to use from chemical fertilizers to biofertilizers?
What is the schedule on time to change? So, but I'm not getting the question exactly. Like,
I
what is
think
the
what he's
time?
asked, yeah, I think what he's asking is that how long does it take for for our farmer to completely switch or slowly switch
Okay,
from a chemical
okay,
fertilizer
okay,
to a biofertilizer? Is it like 1 year? Is it 2 years? Like, what
okay.
is it?
So once you start, like if your field is totally conventional and you want to change it for like, you want to go for sustainable agriculture or want to go for organic farming, in the first year, the yield will be a little less. So, but the total time when you will match it, it will be like around 2 to 3 years. Like when
Yeah.
you will match the same level, it will take around.
Yeah. Which is why when we do trials with our customers, is that we always ask them to use it on top of their grower standard. So whatever they're using, add our
Yes,
product on top, right?
yes,
By
yes.
the second year, we're building that soil health, we're building that plant resiliency, especially in the perennial crops. Then you can reduce, your fertilizer. So in some of the trials that we've done, is that we reduced it by 25%, and
Mm.
then the third year we reduced it down by 50%, right? But this is where it's not a one size fit all um recommendation, because every grower grows differently and they have different inputs, right? So it's really important for us to understand
Mm.
what inputs you're using and how are you growing. And it's almost like it's almost like a doctor, right? We just can't say, oh, you have a cold. Well,
Yeah.
kind of cold, and we're just going to give you, cold and flu medicine, right? So we really need to do uh like a deep dive and to give a proper recommendation. So the recommendations today are very generalized. So what I encourage you to do is to reach out to us or reach out to other specialists and really ask these tough questions, right? Because it's not a one size fit all recommendation. Like I'll give you an example with our vineyard growers. We have, more than a dozen vineyard growers, and every grower uses it very differently. What we found is that, one of our growers who's been using it for 5 years, they have understood how to use our product and in their input program. So our recommended application rate is 4 liters per acre. They're down now to 4 liters per hectare. So almost half of our recommended spray recommendation, right? So over the years of using our product and using your current input program, you'll be able to also reduce our fertilizer uh, dosage as well, right? Once you understand. But it's really, understanding what you're growing, like what crops you're growing, what are your input programs, so that we can really make those recommendations. But the first year is always grower standard and then nurture growth on top, right? And then you'll really see a difference. And, we've seen that in um academic studies that we've done overseas as well. And my analogy is it's two heads are always better than one, right? And we do have a microbe in there which is called the extracellular enzyme. So what it does is that it really kicks into overdrive any inputs you're using, whether it's compost, whether it's manure, whether it's chemical fertilizer. So what it does is that it makes those nutrients more readily available for the plants to uptake it, right? So that's why our product is so effective, is that we have all of these microbes, what I call as a buffet, right? A buffet is you eat whatever it is that you can. So we're releasing these beneficial microbes into the soil, and this way the soil and the plants are interacting with each other, because the soil microbiome how has its own signals. So when they're deficient in certain nutrients, then that means that there's an uneven balance in the soil microbiome. So when we use a product like Nurture Growth, what we do is that we go back in and we balance out that soil microbiome so that this way the plants are able to extract, what it needs. It's using the science of biomimicry. So when you look at the forest, the Amazon forest. Why is the Amazon forest able to regenerate itself and continue, to grow without any fertilizer? It's because Mother Nature has all of these mechanisms in place. So what we've done is that we've been able to capture the essence, of extracting these nutrients to make it available to the plants, put it in a bottle. So what I call a buffet of microbes. It's almost like Mother Nature in a bottle. So this way the farmers don't have to decide, well, do I need more phosphorus or do I need more nitrogen or do I need, more of this? So this is where our product really excels in helping the farmers make it a lot easier in determining, what the plant needs, right? So instead of telling the plants, okay, you need ABC, they will still need ABC, but our biofertilizer helps to make those nutrients more readily available to the plants. Any other questions? Well,
Yeah, if I could ask another question.
yes, you can, Pat.
Okay, so in my program, I've been trialing Nurture Growth for a number of years, and now, as of last year, it's become a main part of the program, okay, used on all the acreage. At the same time, I've been using an organic ground-applied fertilizer, right? It's pelletized hen manure with an analysis of a 5-3-2. And so my question is, as I start to see more growth than I need, understanding that this is an organic production system, and usually we're lacking in growth in our systems, but I'm seeing more growth and more sucker growth, more shoot growth than I really need. The crop yields are good. Should I be reducing my ground applied organic fertilizer or my biofertilizer, the Nurture Growth applications, or a bit of both, reducing a bit of both in the future?
You want to take a stab at that, Dr. Akita, before I answer?
You can go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to this, but what I've seen with other growers is that they've been able to reduce it all around. So giving you the example of that vineyard, we recommend 4 liters per acre. They're doing 4 liters per hectare. So they're reducing our fertilizer as well. As I don't know the other products that they're reducing it, but I think that they are because they're replacing our product with their product, right? So they're running it on alternate schedules. So previously they had sprayed that product every 10 days. Now they're spraying that product every other spray, right? So in that particular case, I think it's relatable to you is that yes, they have been able to reduce their input and then they've able to reduce our input as well, right? So this is where I would say that you can tweak what the chemical, sorry, that organic pellet fertilizer, and then try reducing our fertilizer. So for example, if we recommend 4 liters per acre, why don't you try 3 liters per acre, right? And reduce the other fertilizer, right? Because if you're getting too much growth and you don't need that growth, that's a very good problem to have. And is there a reason why you don't want that much growth, Pat?
Yeah, just because it interferes with shading and it produces more work, right, as far as pruning,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I know when I have sufficient growth and of good quality, of good circumference.
Yes.
But if it gets excessive, it's it creates a problem.
Yeah. So I would probably reduce like our dosage And then are you spraying every 14 days?
Yes,
Okay.
roughly. Yeah.
Roughly? Yeah. So, in this case, you can maybe go to reduce it every 3 weeks, and we can have an offline conversation about this. I don't know what the right answer is. This is just, idea generating. So I'll reach out to you. But the idea is that, yes, you can definitely reduce our fertilizer, and then also reduce the other fertilizer. Are you spraying, and this is on your grapes, if you're talking about suckers, from the beginning of the season, and are you spraying up to veraison or are you spraying until fruit set?
Yeah, way past fruit set, up to veraison, and actually on grapes even a little later to accomplish the Brix,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
To bring the plants to harvest, and so actually on grapes, I'm probably spraying the last application is about 2 weeks before harvest.
Yeah.
And actually, the same on apples because I'm trying to get volume, right? I'm trying to get fruit size. I'm trying to get fruit color. I'm trying to get higher Brix in the fruit.
Yes. Yeah. So I think in the case of like with the apples, is tweaking it at different time periods, as well, right? So, for example, during the stage of the flower, like before flowering, you definitely want to keep that, um, the recommended dosage, right? Because you need the flowers, which is essentially the yield, right? That will turn into the fruits. But once you know, it has turned into fruit, you know that you have enough of the yield, right? Then that's when you can start tweaking. So it's not only a matter of tweaking it at the beginning of the season or the entire program, but it's tweaking it at different times. So yeah, let's have a chat afterwards, and then we can, figure out what is the best recommendation application for you, Pat.
Just want to know, like, whether they are not using any synthetic fertilizer in their crops.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, Pat is the
no,
100.
and I haven't used synthetic fertilizer since the late '80s. It's only been
Okay. Okay.
compost or this pelleted hen manure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So because of use of these microbes, of continue using these microbes, the soil is also nutrient rich, right? That's why you are getting more and more yield. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can reduce the dose.
I've been working with Pat for, I would say, at least 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
If not more, since was it 2019 or 2018? Yeah, okay, maybe way more than that. He was one of our first, I guess, adopters trialing our product. He wanted to make sure that the product is effective before he applies it on all of his crops. So
Mm-hmm.
he's been tweaking it. He's been trying like a number of different products,
Okay.
and yeah, we're very happy to, be working with him. He's also helping us to work with other organic
Mm-hmm.
farmers. He's very reputable in the industry, the
Mm-hmm.
the uh, the agriculture industry, especially in fruits. So he speaks at the Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Convention. He goes to Nova Scotia to speak to the grape growers. So we're very excited to have
Okay.
worked with him. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So that concludes our presentation. I hope that you've learned something, and we will be hosting another webinar next month specifically on how to improve vine health for grapes. So please keep an eye out for the invitation. The newsletter is coming out the first week of February, which will have a lot of industry news. I know that everyone is on it because you obviously got the invitation for this webinar. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay warm, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Dr. Akita. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.